Saturday's weigh-in is brought to you by our stable of sponsors.
Now I see the building sky high. More life, more trouble. But a man can't try. Step in the same circles.
How good was Probabeel? A real taster for the autumn as we saw her take out her fresh up run. We enjoyed racing here in New Zealand as well from New Plymouth and also Wingatui on a big day of racing. Let's welcome in my co-host, Michael Guerin. Michael, welcome, and how was your weekend?
Great, Em. I really enjoyed the racing. I enjoyed not going to the races, actually, which was great, just for once to refreshen. But Probeel sort of started our Australian summer. I think it's a bit of a stutter start for obvious reasons, and we've still got so much great racing here. But for her to do that means coming up this week with Karma Lass and soon Brando and Aegon, we're starting to dial back into Trans-Tasman racing. And then a quite remarkable treble over the weekend, in just the last leg a few hours ago. Stephen Marsh winning black type races, Emily, at three separate tracks which you wouldn't even think of being black type tracks that often. So we'll get to that first a little bit later on for the Probeel fans. We'll have an update on her and that All-Star Mile.
We sure will. We also welcome in Butch Castles to the show. Butch, great to have you back with us, and perfect timing because we're building into a pretty big weekend at Te Rapa this Saturday.
Yeah, we sure are. Lovely to be here, sort of bringing back memories. But yes, big day for us this coming Saturday. Of course, the two Group 1s, the Herbie Dyke and the BCD Group Sprint. We've got the Group 2s for the 3-year-old, the David and Karen Ellis Fillies Classic, and of course the Legacy Lodge Waikato Guineas. So really looking forward to being a part of that day. There's going to be some magnificent horse flesh on display, and I just think we might see something special. It'll be awesome to be a part of something history making if Melody Bell can do that 14 Group 1s.
Yeah, I can't wait for Saturday at Te Rapa. But for now, let's get into our race reviews, and we start with the Powerworks Taranaki Cup. It was over the 1800 metres, taken out by Vernon Mee.
Blues chance, Roll and Vogue dropped out of it. Around the corner they come, Camino Rocoso. Out by 4, they are looking to try and close him down. Vernon Mee, Pole Zeeth, Shadows Cast, Fiscal Fantasy over on the outside. Still Camino Rocoso. In front by 2, can he hang on? Vernon Mee starting to get through on the inside. Fiscal Fantasy, Paisley Park, here's Vernon Mee. Vernon Mee to the line, gets the prize. Maybe Fiscal Fantasy from Camino Rocoso. Paisley Park.
Well, he sat in that second spot behind Camino Rocoso and then was just too strong in the closing stages, Michael, and got up for a really nice win. A strong win as well from him. Obviously, a good performance, and Stephen Marsh pretty buoyed by that effort.
Yeah, he was. We'll get to this in a second, but of course, Concert Hall was a late scratching, so that's why she was out of the race. We'll talk about her and how she's recovered from her little journeys around New Plymouth. But this is a horse who clearly has been a good horse for a long time. He was one of the favourites for the Vodafone Derby in his 3-year-old season. He went over to Australia, competed against the Autumn Sun and the Guineas over there. So he's always been in that top echelon. I don't think he's improved too much. I think he hasn't strengthened up as much as Marshy would like. And Stephen's really open about that. He said, look, he's still a long way away from being a really good weight for age horse, and that's a maturity thing with him. But he said he'll head next to the Kalai Zuzu. It's at Matamata over 2,000 metres Saturday week. Probably leaning away from the Bone Crusher at Ellerslie, and which I suppose that goes to show just how good you need to be a good weight for age horse. That this horse, who's a very good horse, is not good enough to be top 3 in most of our weight for age races just yet.
Yeah, look, he was well placed. Set weight and penalty suited him down to the ground. He only had the half kilo penalty from a listed win. So isn't it great when Camino Rocoso's in a race like that, though? Just sets up the speed. We get a genuine contest. Vernon Mee did the chasing. And look, Camino Rocoso fought on a lot better, the 1,800 metres around a tighter track, obviously suiting down to the ground. And it was great to see that pace in the race. Yes, Vernon Mee was really good late. Fiscal Fantasy, she's always the bridesmaid. You know, she's great for her team of owners, and she's been so very good. But yeah, you're right. The talking point was pre-race and Concert Hall coming out with the big deductions, and of course, the good news with that is, and I'm sure that you can update us, but she's come through it pretty well unscathed.
Yeah, remarkable story for those who missed it on trackside, obviously. So Concert Hall was going into the barriers. She brushed against the side of the barrier, dropped Danielle, not her fault, the horse. She can be a bit of a cow, Concert Hall. And then she's taken off down the straight. Now, what you didn't see on trackside, I've seen on the Stipes footage is pretty remarkable. We're not going to show it to you because it doesn't look good, even though the story ends well. She's run down to the back of the straight, and she's got to the fence, and she hasn't known what to do, whether to jump it or not. And she slid into it, hit it, flipped upside down and landed on her back, which looks really bad. But it actually wasn't that bad, because then she got up, went across the, I shouldn't laugh, went across the road to a children's playground.
Probably a reasonably safe place to be, really, on the big scale of
She's a 5-year-old, isn't she?
Yeah.
Imagine if you were sitting there playing with your kids and this fully saddled horse ran past, then down a bank and then into a park.
Not fully saddled, a really fast racehorse came past. A Group 1 winner. Yeah.
Chased by Linda Wheeler, who's the new clerk of the course at New Plymouth, of course, John Wheeler's wife. So she's jumped the same fence that Concert Hall's basically tried to take out. She's tracked the horse through the playground. I know it sounds like I'm making this up. And then found it in the park and caught it. So by the time they got there, it was 600 metres away from the racetrack. It sounds horrendous. When she crossed a road, which also sounds horrendous, had she turned left, she would have been galloping into central New Plymouth.
Great.
Which is just a crazy to think what could have happened situation there. After all of this, they've got her back, they've taken her back to the stable. She's okay. She's got skin off a few legs, which can happen to any horse on a race day. She'll probably have a sore back and some bruising, but they are thinking that they can potentially get her to the Hanui race at Otaki in a couple of weeks, and maybe even stay to the Bone Crusher. Obviously, the Australian Cup looks less likely, but this is an incident which could have been horrendous, so much worse. As it turned out, jockey not hurt, horse not badly hurt, and
I did have to laugh.
You guys have seen the footage. It's pretty remarkable.
When Roger Jameson interviewed, he said that they started running to go and catch her, and Robert Wellwood put a good length on Roger pretty quickly.
Imagine how horrendous it'd be, like your best horse.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'd be running for my life.
The irony is, her mother actually, her mother's last win was as a hurdler. So poor old Concert Hall's let the family down. She's got to the fence, hasn't known what to do, and she's hit it
pretty good
hard.
on the flat. She doesn't need to worry about the jumps.
So the Australian Cup's a no for her now, you would think. She might turn up in the Bone Crusher. Most important part, nobody got hurt, and that left the race open to Vernon Me, I suppose.
Yep.
And kudos to Linda Wheeler. She's obviously done a wonderful job to get down and get her under control. And, you know, thoughts were immediately with Joan Egan, who's a great supporter of ours at the Waikato Racing Club. And I could just imagine Joan, she loves her horses. I know owners love horses, but she absolutely loves her horses. And I can only imagine what she went through until she was updated that the horse was okay. And I did flick her a text and she came back that she was just so happy that Concert Hall was all right.
And that's out of respect for Joan, and also for all the people who love horses. That's why we're not going to show you the footage, because it looks worse than it is, but it still looks bad enough, and no one likes to see their horse failing to jump a fence at near full speed.
Yeah, exactly right. Let's get you along to the Woburn Farm 2-year-old Classic, a slightly less exciting edition, and Magneto successful in this one.
Back to them now. Quattro Quinta on the outside and Magneto over on the inside, and wider out Wolfgang. Quattro Quinta, Magneto right against the inside is starting to put him with a pretty good run from Quattro Quinta the middle, and now Wolfgang leveling out, but really quickening up Magneto and put him away really easily here. Brilliant win. Magneto gets it. Quattro Quinta, Wolfgang behind those runners when they've hit it.
Magneto successful in that Woburn Farm 2-year-old Classic. Took the shortest route home, just settled lovely spot in behind them, was able to dash away for the win. Big kudos to the Stephen Cole team. I think 5 seasons since their last stakes winner. They've been consistent with some placings, but no doubt relief and satisfaction to see Magneto get up and take out that success.
Yeah, one of 2 winners back-to-back on the day at listed level for showcasing, so it's done a good job there. Look, I'll be honest with you, I think it's good for the industry occasionally for Te Rapa to get beaten in these races. If they just keep winning every 2-year-old race, it gets a little bit monotonous. And Butch, he's a guy who works a nice team, bought some horses at the sale. Stephen Cole, he's tried really hard to do the right sort of stuff. When you get those rewards, it's a reward for working so hard.
Yeah, look, it was he got the right part of the track when the leader just took Quattro Quinta off on the corner, and that allowed the Ryan to take the space up on the inside. That's where they wanted to be early. I thought Quattro Quinta tried hard. Those three were the first three at Trentham, weren't they? And they've just turned around their spots. Wolfgang was good enough. He'll go on. I think didn't look like a bit further would be too much of a concern to Magento after what we saw. So yeah, look, I think the format of the race will be okay.
Yeah, he's going to go to the spelling paddock 3 or 4 days at Hanui, and then he's going to head to the Sistema on the second day of Ellerslie. So I think it's going to be a really hot race, the Sistema, as it should be for a Group 1, because obviously some of the horses who were looking like a better 2-year-olds couldn't go to the Karaka Million. They weren't eligible. And I think they're all going to converge on that race, so it's going to be a cracker.
Yeah, that's a really even bunch this year, isn't it? So looking forward to that Group 1 for the 2-year-olds. Up next is the Fast Track Insurance Oaks Prelude over the 1800 metres for the 3-year-old fillies.
And here Providence Provide goes up to a brave Esdara. Spine Tingle getting right through inside of these with a pretty good run. And then Carolina Reaper. We've got the inside. Look at Spine Tingle. Spine Tingle right up against the rails. Put him away and did it with class. Spine Tingle and a spine tingling win. Providence Provides second and third. Carolina Reaper or Esdara.
It was a really dazzling win by Spine Tingle, who dashed away from the rest of the field. That was a 6-hour journey. I put it in Google Maps from Ruakaka all the way down to New Plymouth, but no doubt Chris Gibbs went home with a smile on his face because it was all worthwhile with Spine Tingle. Just a third start getting that stakes win.
He was buzzing when I spoke to him today, Chris. He said, look, we went down there hoping we could run a place, and we weren't sure because she's by Super Easy. Would she cop the 1800 metres? And then he said, well, look, she's copped that. We might as well go for the Oaks. We've got to keep pressing forward. She's out of a Dabawi mare, which is a little bit surprising, but of course the Hawkins family are no strangers to bringing really well-bred mares into the country. So maybe that'll help a little bit to get to an Oaks distance, even though you naturally wouldn't think a Super Easy type horse would.
He won up to a mile, and the dam went up to a mile as well. So there's potential. Dam's a half-sister to Caulfield, same family as Hypnos.
So he's thinking the Sunline, which is a lot easier than going for him to Hawke's Bay, obviously, for the Lowlander. Was it the Lowlander?
And that, yeah, it is, and it's perfect. The northern fillies tend to run in the Sunline, and some of them will come down to or go down to Hawke's Bay for the Little Avondale Lowland Stakes to get that trip away before they go to Trentham. He's had his trip away with Spine Tingle, so ideal to go to the Sunline. Look, she was 99-1 when she had her debut. She was 11-1 when winning on the home track. They don't pay that on the home track, that stable. So, she was phenomenal late in the race, and 3-year-old fillies can get away with it. Snap one in Oaks, for goodness sake. So I wouldn't be too concerned about if they are running well and they look like... She ran that 1,800 metres out so well. She's going to get 2,100 on her ear, and why not 2,400 of the Oaks?
Des Hawkins, who obviously bred the horse and obviously owns it, that's his colours, said to Chris Gibbs after the race, the last time he could remember Lisa Allpress riding a horse for them in those colours was Valley Girl when she won the Group 1 of Te Rapa, which is that's a long time ago. So they're wonderful breeds, lovely people. Obviously they've got another really nice horse at the moment, and Mai Tai as well. But look, it's hard to believe the Oaks winner was in that race when you still know that Amaralina is being aimed at the Oaks. So I spoke to Jamie Richards this week for the show. He said, yes, we are going to the Oaks of Amaralina. Now, there's no guarantee it's going to get there. Of course, there's no guarantee any of these horses will get there. But she just dominates this market so much in my mind, because she was a head away from winning the Karaka Classic, that everything else in the race falls away until I know she's not going. So, Butch, I presume she's coming to your track this Saturday. Yeah,
she'll run in the David and Karen Alice Fillies Classic, and she'll be a dominant favourite in that. And we'll find out whether she stays 2,000 metres. I've got no concerns about him getting 2,000 metres. I don't think it'll be a huge field. We've seen a number of Northern fillies run there. Look, Needle and Thread, I would imagine, would be there on Saturday. Maybe Tokarangi, cheaper than Divorce as a nomination. So it's going to be a bit of a dress rehearsal, and 2,000 metres does answer some questions. But she's right out of the top drawer of Amaralina.
I think one of the reasons that she's still a little bit long on the market is a lot of people think she might head to Australia. And I put that to Jamie last week. He said, no, we're aiming at the Oaks. He said, I haven't won an Oaks. So he's aiming at the Oaks. I think she profiles a lot like Savvy Cope, and the fact that, you know, she was so good in the mile the class will get a 2-4. So she overshadows that market for me. But we'll know a lot more after she races at Te Rapa on Saturday.
Yeah, we sure will. Let's head down to the South Island now. Wingatui, they had a big day of racing down there, and we move you along to the White Robe Lodge, which was taken out by Belfacino in a dazzling effort.
Coming to the outside on the up-and-comer. And then Belfacino as they go for home. Shirley Maud, well back, good on you. Bronte Beach point score. They go for home in the white robe. Kilowatt Kalani, raising command up the centre of the track. Gallant Boy not there, good on you. Getting through, he's got power there across the track. Kilowatt, he's got power, raising command to get in, good on you. Bronte Beach and now Belfacino. Belfacino arrived just in time. Belfacino won the white robe. A line up the minors, raising command, good on you.
It was a really good win by Belfacino, and I thought a really deserving win. Actually, 48 starts, 8 wins, 10 placings, 4 stakes places before this victory on Saturday, and I think it was well deserved. A good ride as well, Butch, to get up out of a tight spot.
Yeah, it was, and that was pretty special for Sam Wynn, because I know she's heavily involved in the marsh operation in the South Island. He has some horses down there, and look, she's a hard worker, Sam, and she would have got a great thrill out of that, as would plenty of the owners. One of them, Sharon Hobbs. Congratulations to Sharon. Not sure they would have had enough wine in Cambridge for her on Saturday night, but anyway, she will have enjoyed it. Look, they've racked up $175,000 in stake money with this mare. She's been particularly well placed. I thought perfectly ridden, waited for that late split and got it, and what a great finish. And I was just saying to Michael off here, Justin Evans calling really well. I thought he picked her, he got her, and I've known him since he was a young fella that used to come along to the races with Tony and I. He was probably 15, 16, back in the CD days, and he'd put the horses onto the track, and he was such a keen, and then he went away, did radio, all of those things, and now to see him back, we used to call him Youth in the day, because that's what he was, and it's just fantastic to see him. So good on you, Youth, you're doing a great job.
He is both codes, which is not easy to do. He's travelling a lot, he's made the South his own, and good on him for doing it.
And he adds so much value. I mean, I've crossed him plenty of times in the studio, and he always adds value to the product that you're trying to sell, more than a commentator really has to. You can tell that passion coming through. Yeah,
he's loving it. He's in the role he's wanted his whole life. He's got there. On Belfacino, obviously Stephen Marsh owns 35% of it, as you said, with some really good people. They're going to need to sell her because it's really hard to breed a mare when obviously you've got 4 or 5 different owners. He said, look, we'll race her on the, there's a Breeders' Stakes there, the Valachi, on the 27th of March at Riccarton, and they'll head there. And then he said, we'll probably look at maybe going to a Magic Million-like situation, or Sydney or something like that, where the 4 black types next to a name, wins and placings, will help. So it should be sold at some stage in the winter, unless, of course, there's someone out there with a stud in New Zealand who thinks they would like a meal like that in their broodmare band.
We're just going to put you on the sales list, Michael, selling these horses.
I'm available even.
People coming up, offering you, get your percentage.
If it's Stephen Marsh, I think we'll be getting paid probably an alcohol rather than anything else. I don't imagine there's any money going to change hands. But that's 2. So that's 2 out of the 3 for Stephen Marsh black types over the weekend. 1 to come.
Yep, there sure is. Race number 4 from Wingatui first was the listed Media Works Dunedin Guineas. Show them how it's done. Did just that.
On the turn, so Dusty Street Fighter Man to the outside Ocean Point. The Gift is trying to chime in further out. Show them how it's done, and wider out gone with the win back behind them. Chew in across the track of the Guineas. Street Fighter Man in the centre Ocean Point. Now the Gift starting to get down and down the outside. Show them how it's done. It's the Gift, and show them how it's done. They're at it again. Show them how it's done. Show them how it's done. Goes back-to-back Guineas wins for her to beat the Gift. It's the St. Cordella. 3rd gone with the wind. Came hurtling home down the outside.
Well, as we heard in that call, show them how it's done, beating the Gift once again and adding another really valuable stakes success to the resume. It was back-to-back wins and putting together a little tidy record that, as you're saying, with these fillies, so important.
Yeah, back-to-back Guineas wins, which is not easy to achieve. Actually purchased off Gavel House as a weanling. Now, if you've ever mucked around on Gavel House for a while, the weanlings don't tend to go for a lot of money. So this wouldn't have been a very expensive horse, bred by one of the great guys in racing, and Gordon Cunningham, who we were talking about last week. I spoke to Shane Kennedy today and had a really good chat to him about the horse. He said, look, she's not overly big, so we're going to take what we can get right now. But that doesn't include the Southland Guineas. No Southland Guineas next start for her. She's staying away from that. Got to be set for the 3-year-old South Island Filly of the Year series. And Shay wanted to make this very clear. He said, the bottom line is with our stable, we've only got 15 horses. Anna Furlong does most of the work. Anna's in charge these days. I'm still there, I still help out, but Anna does most of the work, and therefore she deserves most of the credit for that win and this horse's form this last campaign.
Exactly right. We've also got the Dunedin Cup to have a little look at, and it was a good performance by Madame de Soir.
The outside Zariba, they're 4 in front. D&G, City Slicker, Madame de Soir, No Palais, Beach Dasbro trying to get down the outside. Meantime, Zariba shakes off Oropuki Lady, won't go away. Here's Madame de Soir, and now City Slicker up the centre. It's a slogging go. Madame de Soir ranged up, took the lead for Komaniagi, and it's Madame de Soir, and she goes back-to-back. Jockey that is to beat City Slicker, third Oropuki Lad, fourth No Palais from...
Well, if you'd have watched this win without knowing the odds, you would have thought it was maybe a $5 shot or a $3 shot. 31.60 was the odds, 66 starts in its career, and a really important first black-type win for Danny Crozier as well.
Yeah, and for those who don't know Danny Crozier, he's a knockabout guy who would just give you the shirt off his back. Fantastic guy, excellent jumps jockey, was a really good jockey when he was younger. Doesn't work a lot of horses, but they always look good when they go to the races. Amazing story, this horse. Her dam never won past 1,200 metres. So absolute speed freak, liked to lead, never won past 1,200. This horse has never won under 1,800. So it's by Raise the Flag, that's obviously where the stamina comes from, but that's remarkable. That'll drive anybody who's a breeding nut out of their mind, having to put up with something like that. Really happy to see Danny get a black type win, because he is a legitimately great guy. So, yep, she'll be the pride for him and his partner Rachel Deegan at the moment, and 8 wins, $116,000. She's done a pretty good job. You'd be thrilled to have a horse who's won 8 races and 116. So good on you, Danny. And as I say, that breeding stuff, that would drive you crazy.
There's no rules, are there, in horses? It's a
She ran
lottery.
it out strongly, didn't she? 2,400,
Yeah,
I imagine.
Yeah.
Invercargill Gold Cup may well be on the dance card next, because...
Well, it was a brutal race. They were going a long way from home.
Yeah, it was a stand-up, knock them down and drag them out sort of a race. And
I only presume Koziazana was riding to instruction, because he worked hard, got the lead, got crossed, and then came out again and just had another go. And Kozi's a really good rider, as we all know. So he must have been told to put it in the race, and he did.
Yep, did exactly that.
Yeah, and she just smoked the pipe, Tina Komaniagi, and managed to get into the clear and really hit the line pretty strongly.
Earlier in the day too at Otago, the Steve Anderson Memorial was held. I think it's the third running of the Steve Anderson Memorial, and Desert Magic won, and obviously Steve's sister is involved with the horse. Really touching stuff, and anybody who's ever been involved in any sort of memorial race, they're pretty emotional things.
Yeah.
So to win it must be an incredibly satisfying experience.
Yep, exactly. Tauhara Nikau is our focus next. That was today's meeting, of course. It was a pretty quality card, actually, at Tauhara Nikau. They had a big crowd, sun was shining, looked like a fantastic day out, and we saw the Thoroughbred Breeders' Stakes, and it was a lovely win for Tabata.
On the outside, Vici after it. Then we've got Ruby Rocks looking to get into the clear. Serena the middle. Miss Labas is trying to rally back. Cruz Ramirez is in front by a margin. Tabata's going to try and flash late on the inside. Then Serena's finishing pretty hard. Cruz Ramirez in front. Down to the line. Tabata flew. Oh, I think Cruz Ramirez, Tabata, Serena, House of Cartier, and then...
Made up a massive amount of ground to Tabata. It was a thrilling finish. You can see here in the slow-mo, Tabata just appears from the clouds and gets that nod exactly where it matters, and does end up getting a pretty decisive win in the end. And Brendan McCullum and his wife were on track. They were enjoying the celebrations. Lisa Allpress, I think she thought she'd won, but it was actually Danielle Johnson and Stephen Marshall pretty rapt as well. That was, of course, his third stakes win for the weekend.
And look, incredibly crucial for Brendan. Brendan started out buying horses like anybody who starts buying horses, like eating potato chips. You just can't get enough of them, and off you go. And then he realised there's no future in that. So what he's doing now is purchasing fillies who have a page. Now, she's out of a mare called Split Second, who ran third in the Sunline. She only won one race, but she had black type and Waikato stud family, so that's all good. But this black type for her means she's not going to go to that sort of stallion. She can now go to these sorts of stallions. And that was the whole plan. Butcher, you know Brendan better than I do. The whole plan about that was to get her there to win a black type race. She's done that now. She's going to go to the Travis on your track in a month or so, or 2 months actually. But it's job done almost for her now. It's almost bonus time after this.
Yeah, so much more ahead of her though. Look, she's just a really scopy Savabeel mare that on the strength of that's going to get up to a middle distance. She's bred to get up to a middle distance. I was just thrilled for him because he's such a real fan of the game. He loves all aspects of it. He loves going to the races. He loves the horses in the paddock. He loves going to the stables. He loves having a bet. He loves celebrating. All of those things that make racing so special. Brendan and Liz sort of exemplify those type of things. And the fact that they made the effort to go down there, it's not the easiest place in the world to get to Taranaki.
No. Worth it when you get there.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's just, you know, those are the sort of stories. They're in the family colours, and I know how special that'll be for Baz. So that's pretty cool. But she's got so much more in front of her.
Yeah, to have done that, that was really
and
good.
And Savabee or Mears, you know, they're going to be just the things that you want in the paddock. The small setup there at home, he'll, you know, brood me a band of however many it'll be, but she will be somewhere near the top of the tree.
Well, it just changes the whole valley, doesn't it? She cost 100,000 at the sales, and now she's cheap because you know, they can afford to go to, you know, an Elmanzor at 30,000 or something. They can have a proper horse to play with. So he also adds to racing, Brendan. Like, he's not one of those famous people who goes to the races and then waves it away because it's something else he's doing on the way to going somewhere else. He loves it, as Butch said, and that's really important for people because other people go, well, must be legitimate. This is something people can do which isn't silly, and there's some really interesting people involved in it. Now, we can't base the industry around celebrities, but it's good when celebrities choose to be part of your industry. So I think he's a really good resource for racing to have. I know he's a person, therefore he's not a resource. By the way, we tried to get Stephen Marsh on the show tonight because he did have 3 black type wins, and he said, I'm going out with Brendan. That's not exactly what he said, but it basically meant he was...
paraphrase it.
Put it this way, somewhere in Wellington right now, he is out with the McCullums.
Excellent stuff. Let's update you around the trainers and jockeys premiership. Of course, Stephen Marsh would have added to that success with his win today, so he now sits on 47 in that second spot with 529 starters after a great weekend. Jamie Richards still well in front with 105 wins, and I know the TAB have actually paid out on both Jamie and Danielle after such an incredibly strong start to their seasons. They've put the white flag up and they've called it time on both of those too.
I spoke to Marshy about his recent form because he's been training really well, and he said, look, I actually changed my training a little bit about 3 or 4 months ago, maybe 5 or 6, and it didn't work. And he said, I've changed back, so I'm now training the way I used to train. And he said, that's why I'm getting the results. So he tried something, it didn't work. Now he's back doing something else. As you mentioned, Danielle absolutely
4 wins
smashing
today,
people
I think, that Toe had a
on the
out.
Premiership. Just going back to JB's situation, he's about, I think it's 4.8 million is Murray and Andrew's best domestic season. So he's now got another target because the Premiership's going to be his. He's got another target to aim at, and he's an ambitious young man. I presume he'll be aiming at that target.
Yeah, and so he should. Well done to him, and of course Danielle as well. Let's get you off to a break here on Weigh In, and on the back of that we head across the ditch and we take in Probable's emphatic win.
Today's weigh-in is brought to you by our stable of sponsors.
Welcome back with us on Weigh In. We teased Probable, and she was really the highlight of the weekend, and of course a real sort of tune-up to what's to come for the autumn, and she got her campaign off in excellent fashion.
Sierra Sue 3 off the lead from Des Moines. Mystery Love the widest. Bam's on fire. Ex-Alita, Great Duchess behind them. Lashes at the 250, grabbed by Snap Dancer, but Probable pounces. She takes Snap Dancer and Lashes pulls Regret. Probable takes the lead. She's going to be too classy. 100 to go. She's 2 legs, pulls Regret, and Probable back in style from pulls Regret. Snap Dancer, Lashes probably 4. Bam's on fire. Ex-Alita.
I wanted to ride her quiet to hit the line. There looked a lot more speed on paper than what eventuated. You know, there was probably 2 or 3 there that didn't go forward that I thought might. So about halfway down the side, I thought I'm doing more harm than good trying to go back. So I just let her stride, and yeah, she just had too much on him.
She was so good, wasn't she? She was 4 wide early, she was 3 wide, and probably the right decision, or exactly the right decision made by Damien Lane to just let her slide forward and get into that rhythm. And I love the way she's been able to put herself in a more tactical position. It's making her so much more dynamic, and with that maturity, she's just developing into the ultimate racehorse. And gosh, she's right up there with any Australian weight for age star, and it's so exciting to have that attachment here in New Zealand.
Oh, it sure is. She just attacks the line. Look at those ears pinned back. She really wants to savage the line. 1,200 metres, well short of what she's looking for now. And I thought that was a phenomenal win and something that they can really be so keen on going forward from.
Yeah.
Look, you're right. She just slid forward. He did the right thing. And then when he asked her to go, those blinkers, so different from the trial. Those blinkers just sharpened her up, focused her. And when he said go, she got there so quickly and went so quickly. I'm really excited about her, and the All-Star Mile is going to be her on her dance card, and we've just got to vote, mate.
Yeah, well,
I voted. Yeah, I've got mine in.
Yeah, obviously you voted for her.
Yeah, I did.
Just for people watching at home, if you want to vote in the All-Star Mile, it doesn't cost you anything. You have to be over 18 years old. And just log on and...
You can be in to win $250,000 as a voter.
Here's how the vote stands. So, look, she's going to make it, but do the right thing by Cambridge Stud because they do so much for New Zealand racing. Obviously, so does Jamie. So there's a lot of people involved with this horse.
Well, she's like our rep, right? She's the Kiwi.
This horse? Exactly.
She's the Kiwi in there. So
go and vote for her, and I hope she gives the Aussies a bleeding nose. Yes, she was good winning that. She was actually fantastic winning that because she actually hasn't been great first up in the past. She's only won once in the past fresh up, and that was at Awapuni last year in a pretty average race. So she was a very advanced from what I think she's stronger than she was.
But look at what that springboarded her into. The improvement that's going to be there in her is enormous. That's just a taste of what she's got to come.
So Jamie was going to go to a mare's race in 3 weeks, but he's pulled back and he's going to the Futurity in 2. And that's the whole ball game for her now because she's up against Behemoth, Arcadia Queen, and some serious horses. Now, Russian Camelot Trials tomorrow.
She's a serious horse herself. I think she'll
right,
be exactly right.
But I think we'll know where we stand with her. Like, if she comes out and wins the Futurity, it's a totally different ball game now because she might be even favourite for the All-Star Mile now.
Well, she's equal favourite now.
She's equal now. Now, Arcadia Queen's going to be there because there's a little bit of travel stuff between Perth and Victoria, but she's getting across. There's no streets there.
She is very
Behemoth
high
is going to be
quality.
there too.
Yeah.
The horses who didn't help themselves over the weekend, Sir Dragonet, obviously, or Dragonette, depending on who you ask. The Cox Plate winner just totally outpaced him at 1400.
He looked really dour, didn't he, after his Melbourne Cup?
And Mystic Journey, who won the first version of this race 2 years ago, has been beaten twice in Tasmania back to back. So a couple of these, when you look at that, Ole Kirk still in Sydney. It's
a winnable race,
it is a winnable race. That's what I'm saying, Butch.
You're wanting to hear that. It's a winnable race.
I backed her at $15. I hope you're right, Butch.
Yeah. Well, I hope I'm right too because
she's
the
quality.
Kiwi. She's got quality, and that was so impressive fresh up.
Yeah, look, I think she's become our flagship horse, and I think the other flagship horse in New Zealand will be Aegon when he gets to Sydney, and then obviously Melody Bell might get there at the back end of a campaign. But for us in this country to have all those things in play, and on the Bubbles, who's still unbeaten, all those things in play together gives us a really cool back end to the summer. But it'd be nice to see us in a scrap. And then Brando's going to join the fight.
Yeah.
And another horse we're going to see, Crosshaven, who Daniel Narclay's one of the most popular people in Northern racing. And he's got a really good horse who raced in the Ore the other day. So I think we've got a few things in play at the moment, which a lot of people are enjoying watching.
Yeah, and we know we can do the job because the Kiwis have taken home many of those big races in Australia. Let's have a look at the CF Ore Stakes, which was at Caulfield. Streets of Avalon successful in this one.
The 350 from Streets of Avalon. Crosshaven imaging to the middle of the track, and then Blazejowski. Streets of Avalon at the 200. Here's Imaging pounding down the middle, and then came Crosshaven. Streets of Avalon digs in, 100 to go. Imaging not there yet. Streets of Avalon, Imaging, stride for stride. Streets of Avalon fights. It's a winner. Streets of Avalon won the Group 1. Imaging second. Crosshaven third. Humidor is up for 4 with Angel of Truth, Blazejowski.
You can see the excitement on Zach Spain's face as he really appreciates this Group 1 win, his first Group 1 win aboard Streets of Avalon. And I almost thought it was headed up the straight by here, Imaging, but there you go, it was. And Streets of Avalon just kicks back and ends up getting a really good win. I did sort of think to myself afterwards, what would probably have done in this CF4 Stakes had she have been in it. I think she would have been really competitive as well.
She would have been highly competitive, but I think the 12th probably long term going to be the right answer, fresh up for her, and we saw that. But look, Crosshaven you spoke about before, he was really good, 3-year-old against the older horses. Imaging ran up to win the race and just didn't really have that desire late in the race, I didn't think. Sat 3 wide though, so I suppose if you wanted to make an excuse you could, but great to see someone ride their first Group 1 winner.
Just talking to Daniel Narkley over the weekend about Crosshaven, they're thinking more Australian guineas, so beating Brando, more so than trying to go through the futurity into the All-Star Mile. So probably unlikely. If he did win the Australian guineas, he could get one of the 4 or 5 wild cards into the All-Star Mile. But there's going to be a great Australian guineas. Like Ole Kirk's obviously a really good horse. Crosshaven's really tough. Brando, Harry measures up against them. Butch, what do you make of Brando against those type of 3-year-olds?
Look, he's really come to it, Brando. I know that everyone associated with him has had a big rap on him for a long, long time. I think they got the fright of their lives when old Tinker McPhee went sailing on by on debut at Matamata, and then he's come out. I thought his win on Boxing Day was very, very good, very soft. He was probably a victim of circumstance at Trentham, a bit of buffeting, and All Press rode a very good race. I thought stole that race on Bonham. So I don't know, you never know where they stack up, but he's a Savabeel, he's got the right profile, the mile is going to suit him at Flemington, so I would be staggered if he wasn't competitive.
And the thing I like about Brando is his nature. He's a racehorse. He wants to be a racehorse. He's beautiful to look at, and he's got the attitude to go with it as well. So, yeah, I think they'll all be very competitive come the autumn. We now move on to some pretty sad news, and actually freakish, really. Within a week, we heard of the announcement of the death of Te Akau Shark and, of course, Silent Achiever as well. Just touching on Te Akau Shark first, he, of course, was a 2-time Group 1 winner, taking out the Chipping Norton Stakes, and he just attracted such a cult following, and the call in this race, the Shark circling ominously, he really was right up there with one of the best weight for age horses in Australasia, and really gutted to hear that he has passed.
Yeah, it's tragic when any horse dies, obviously, and he had the incredible misfortune of going blind in an eye and then having surgery and pneumonia spreading to the other eye. But you know, he's a horse who's close to your heart because you used to be the boss at Hawke's Bay, and he produced a win at Hawke's Bay. I think it was the Red Badge, 2 or 3 years ago now. And when you have those performances on your tracks, those electrifying performances, they set the day at light.
Yeah, they do. Look, he'd come on the first day of that carnival and won a rating race, I think whatever it was then, an 82 or something. Here it is here. He sat wide, he circled them, and then when Michael Coleman on this occasion with just 53 kilos asked him to go, he put paid to him. Look at those 3 or 4 big hops there, and he put paid to them and just kept getting further away. He went from there to the Copeland's Mile and won by 6 lengths.
Devastating.
That was his 5th start. And he beat some pretty good gallopers on that occasion. 5th start, just did it with consummate ease. Then to the Copelands. Look, he's just a high-class racehorse, but I suppose the really sad thing is what might have been. You know, he ran 3rd in a Cox Plate, in a really international Cox Plate to Le Grichier. And
look what he did to Very Elegant, who then went on, you know, in the spring, and she won multiple Group 1s.
Well, it's second in Epsom. He got to an international rating of 118.
Yeah.
That's proper trucking.
Yeah, well, people use the word proper racehorses. He was a proper racehorse. And, you know, there was something about him. I was talking to someone today and they said, why is it some horses capture that imagination? I think there's a whole lot of things with him. The name, the shark, the association with the Paul Gallen, the blokes with the hats on their heads whenever he was racing, all of those things captured the imagination.
Big red horses. New Zealanders love it. New Zealanders love a big red horse. And horses who can come from last, there's 2 things people love. Yeah. Horses who can come from last, or horses who can bolt away in front and win. Those all-the-way leaders. Those 2 discrepancies. He had that all, and it's gutting, and really gutting for the team to have him put to sleep, because that's a really tough decision to have to make. But you can't have a horse running around blind. A horse isn't a dog. You can't put it in your lounge and leave it there.
You've got to do the right thing.
Of course you do. And you know, that's a horrible way for a horse to potentially live for another 20 years. So it'd be a heart-wrenching decision to make to everybody involved. You know how tough it must have been. And as you said, that came on top of Rock on Wood last week, which was devastating for the Elliots. Yeah. This horse totally unrelated to any racing injury. And then poor old Silent Achiever, who's been all around the world and done all sorts of things, and passes away in a paddock at Valachi.
Yeah, Silent Achiever is a horse I had quite a bit to do with, actually, because Dundeel and her pretty much travelled around Australia together, and Naima, who used to look after Silent Achiever, Roger James said in an interview, she would have walked on hot coals for Silent Achiever, and that's exactly the way I remember her. Brie, as she was known around the stable, she was just an absolute dote. She was, you know, she just loved the attention. Naima would have done anything for her. There's Dundeel finishing into second.
Beating Dundeel,
Yep. So
Naima shouted that night, hopefully.
No, we always watched the races together, and I gave her a big hug after that. She was crying. It was really, she was just a wonderful, wonderful racemare, and she took so much managing. She used to tie up, and when she travelled, she wouldn't eat, and she was
Can
just
you explain
a dote.
that to me in that situation? When you spend that much time with the horse, because obviously stable hands, for want of a better word, or strappers, spend a lot of time with lots of horses, but when you spend that much time with the Silent Achiever or Dundeel, where you spend a lot more time than a normal horse, how close do you get to them?
So close. You know everything about them. You're spending every day. There's no day off. You're the only person. It's a 7 days a week, 3 months gig where you're with the horse. So you know everything. Bad days, good days, you're there. And
do you think in that situation, horses do have personalities? Do you start to pick up on their personality traits?
Absolutely, yeah. That day Dundeel finished second. Never in his whole life he'd go on the float, no trouble. Came second, he was so angry at himself. I couldn't get him on the float to go home, literally. And no, I'm not kidding you. Yeah. And the float driver said to me, "What is going on?" I said, "I think he's really pissed off that he didn't win." And Naima had that exact same relationship with Silent Achiever, where you're like their mother or their, you know, it's like living with your boyfriend. You know everything about them when they're having a good day, and your ups and downs are with them. And there's no financial benefit of being a strapper. You're there. Your emotion is purely because you love the animal and you want that horse is giving its all for you.
I think she's one of the most underrated mares we've ever had. She
won
a Derby. She beat Ocean Park in the Waikato Guineas. I mean, Ocean Park won a Cox Plate. And then she won a BMW, and we saw her there in the Ranford, I think there was, or the BMW, one of the other, beating Dundeel. And she's just beaten so many good horses. But she didn't have a great winning strike rate because she raced at the top for such a long time.
Against some of the absolute best.
And Roger's such a conservative trainer that he wouldn't take her to the races fit all the time. So, and then she went to Ireland, or England actually, and got served by Frankel twice, and Galileo and Kingman. Now, not many horses from this part of the world would ever have had that experience and body of life to fit into 12 years. So I really feel for the Hickmans. It's obviously a really tough time. Yeah. They have got one filly from her, I think, maybe two, maybe one or two. But they gave her every chance of life, and she must have some wonderful memories for Kevin.
Oh, fantastic memories. She owes them nothing, does she? I mean, she's when they were forming, I suppose, Valachi Downs, when you think of it back when she was racing, Valachi was in its formative stages, you know, and she was a huge part of that growth that Valachi has made with Silent Achiever and going to those international stallions and that. I remember that day in the Waikato Guineas, she was electrifying. Did James ride her that day and then he couldn't ride her in the Derby because he was suspended or something?
No, he rode her in the Derby.
Did he?
No, so he rode her in the Derby.
Yeah.
And I think somebody else rode her in the other race.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Vinny rode her somewhere. Yep. Yeah.
No, she was a wonderful, wonderful mare, and Tiakau Shark also a wonderful racehorse. Just tragic circumstances around both of them, and of course Rock on Wood as well. Let's get you off to a break. On the back of that, we head into a little bit of sales chat with Butch.
Today's weigh-in is brought to you by our stable of sponsors.
Welcome back in with us to weigh-in. Of course, we teased a little bit of sales chat, and Butch Castles on the show this week. Butch, I think you're a bit light in the pocket, aren't you, after your son, Hunter? He got the hand up at the sales, and he was able to secure lot 131, $80,000. Good investment?
Yeah, no, he was with DC one day, and David said, "Look, would you like to bid on a horse with us at the sales?" So there was no way that he wasn't going to get seen. You can see that arm going up. So, well, look, we've taken a tiny little share so he can follow it through its career. He's really showing a real interest in. Yeah, look, he loved the sale. He loved seeing who they're by, who they're out of, how does that all work. Mark Chaddock took him up into where John Thompson is, into the vendor's box to watch a horse sold, so he really enjoyed that experience as well. So yeah, it's great. I'm thrilled it's something that we can sort of share together and have a shared interest in. Yeah,
He's got the handshake.
Yeah.
But isn't that how it all begins? And wonderful that people in our industry are able to get that experience, because that's what when he comes on here in 10 or 15 years time, he'll say, the first day I remember when I put my hand up to buy that Batamos and it turned out to be a Group 3 winner or something.
Also, he's learning about the reality of money and economics and stuff that he's 12, I take it?
Yes.
Most 12-year-old kids don't learn about. I was sitting with Hunter, who I don't know very well, and by God, he's got his mum's here, isn't he?
Yeah.
Hasn't he got mum's here? And I said to him, what's all that stuff on the board up there? All the currency conversions, it's Australian dollars and that's Singapore dollars and that sort of stuff. So yes, racing has lots of things it can teach people, and there's also no reason some people don't want to get into it. That's fine too. But here's a young fella who's learning about business from a very astute businessman in David Ellis. That's not going to do him any harm later in life at all. Buying horses might do some harm later on in life. But we've all been there before and played that game.
If you get a good enough job, buying horses can be a fun hobby on the side.
Well, you're obviously your son Max has a lot of racing in his life. Does he gravitate towards trackside, being on television when the horses are racing? Does he like it more than rugby or anything else?
He goes, "Go, Daddy, go," and then he gets.
Daddy's not in the race.
It doesn't matter, orange colours. It's irrelevant
It's
who's
Daddy
on it.
anyway.
Yeah. And then he gets on his little wooden horse and he gets Opie's Caulfield Cup winning stick and gives his horse a right tail up. Yeah. And he says, "Mummy," when he sees me on the TV.
Oh.
He'll just think that's normal.
Yes, he will.
Pony shows and racing, that's all he'll know.
He'll go to school and say to people, "Are your parents on television as well?"
I'm just quietly brainwashing him to get into racing. Let's have a look back at Melody Bell's Group 1 win in the Thorndon Mile as a teaser to what's to come this weekend at Te Rapa. Here's a look at her impressive 13th Group 1 win to equal Sunline. And of course, the big question, we spoke about it at the start of the show, can she have that record in her grasp and make it 14 Group 1s in the Herbie Dyke?
There's no reason why she can't, is there? Look, she's going to be improved for that. You would think 2,000 metres, probably her modus operandi now. What about Cinerama in that race, though? Look, she's blown the start by, 8 or 10, and she's had the audacity to look like she was going to be right in the fight up until the last little bit. So Alan had no option but to bring her up. It's not going to be a big field. The Chosen One, it's fantastic that they're going to kick him off in the race, because it's so important that we try and keep a Group 1 around this race. It's our richest weight for age race, and that's really down to the Dyke family, Stephen and Simon, in honouring the memory of Herbie, that they're massive sponsors. There's the market. She's so dominant, Michael, and so she should be.
So Amarina won't start there.
No.
She'll start in the fillies race. Obviously, it's a backup in case something happened to Melody Bell. But when you look at it, like Bowden's obviously got good group form. Cinerama's Group 1 second now. Tiptronic won the race last year. So there's enough there, Butch, to keep your rating up. It's going to help the race, isn't it?
Well, if Melody Bell and the Chosen One run in the first 4, it's going to be a huge help to it. That's how these ratings work. It's designed around weight for age racing in the Northern Hemisphere, where they have 4 or 5 runners, and the best four will run in the first 4.
And that's the international rating, isn't it? That's what it's clocked
it's
up
all
on.
based around those international ratings. The first 4 runners at the end of a season, how that race rates up. And look, I've been working with the Te Akau, Jamie in particular, texting for a long time about how important, and John Galvin got on board about how important it was to try and have Melody Bell running in this race from that point of view. The Chosen One, again, Andrew and Murray, it's fantastic that they've seen that. So look, I think we can't do any more than put up a race like we're going to on Saturday. Those two are truly international New Zealand horses, like the Chosen One.
If she wins, Melody Bell, how do you celebrate that? Because obviously it's hard to have 2 sets-ups of presentations. Obviously, there's other horses in the race who could win as well.
Absolutely.
And it's really important if they win a Group 1 with 400k.
You don't want to jinx it either.
Exactly, but also you don't want to be like having a set-up Melody Bell go sign, because there's 7 other people in the race who probably don't really want to hear that. So how do you go about trying to capture this moment?
Yeah, well, I think, I think that the strains of Valerie would ring out across the racecourse should she win, because I think that's her stable name, isn't it?
Yep.
So that song would be prominent. We've got a couple of plans in place to honour her if she was able to win it. And you're right, it's horse racing. It's not collecting, because that's they've got to get out there on the track. And as my dear friend Alan Sharrock says, when the green flag drops, the bullshit stops. So it's all about on the racecourse. And
that must be interesting for you last week. Alan Sharrock and you are very good friends. Obviously, you're close to the Te Rapa team. Almost everybody in racing is. Who were you yelling for down the straight?
I didn't yell much. I think that it was important for Cinerama's future that she got a Group 1 placing, and I really wanted Melody Bell to be trying to crack the 14 at Te Rapa, so we won't tell Ellen that, okay? Or Brother Bruce, we can't let him know.
I actually watched the race with them, and yeah, they were thrilled with second. This week I thought, as big a race as that's going to be, Emily, I'm almost half looking forward to the BCD sprint a bit more.
Yeah.
Avantage, Callsign Mav and Levante.
Massive race, yeah.
I know Melody Bell doing what she did. It takes 140 years to achieve, to become the New Zealand record holder for Group 1s. But if she, Levante, down the outside can do this to the winners of the Railway, the Telegraph and the Tarzino, it's going to be something special.
She is capable. She is absolutely I think for me, the Herbie Dyke, I'm expecting Melody Bell to win. That's my expectation. Whereas with the BCD sprint, I'm excited about what could unfold because I don't know what's going to unfold.
Which one do we want to see first?
Which one do we want to see first?
Yeah.
Win?
No, which race?
Which race?
Which race do you want first?
Oh, I don't know. That's a good question. I want them to
tell
get
me.
one by... Are you going to put it on for me?
You tell me, and if you come up with the right answer, we'll do it your way.
I think Melody Bell second.
Well, what do you think?
Oh, you tell me.
Well, last year I think it was 7, the Herbie Dyke, and the BCD was 9, I think, last year.
Oh, okay, so the
9.
BCD, yeah, right.
So obviously, I'm actually surprised this market's so close. And this is by no means being disrespectful to Levante. Levante is just a super horse. But Avantage is going to settle almost certainly a long way in front of her, and possibly...
She's a little bit more versatile, isn't she?
$2 versus $2.20. The way these things work, all the money will come for Avantage. So I'm not saying she's a better chance. I just think the market will move more that way. And if you want to bet Levante, wait.
Yeah,
because her draw, no matter what she draws, she's not going to shorten.
No.
If she draws barrier 1, she's not going to improve in price. She's going to get worse.
Oh God, I just wish she could set a...
It won't be a big field, so she won't need to worry. There'll only be 7 or 8 in it, so she's only going to have...
Callsign Mav's coming?
Yeah, Callsign Mav, Levante, Avantage, Mascarpone. I think it's Destiny Child. I'm not sure about a couple of others. It won't be a big field. So Levante will be a couple of pairs closer just by naturally the fact that it's a smallish field.
So track's going to be firm by the look of it. Who wins?
Levante's freakish. Avantage has got the runs on the board. You're being a bit tough here. I'll go Avantage just, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if the other mare came out and just went whoosh.
What about for you?
I knew you were going to ask me too. I'm going to go
It's my job.
Avantage as well because I just think she's a little bit more adaptable to overcome circumstances.
The other one to win a Group 1 race, Levante, and it might well be Saturday. I wouldn't be at all surprised.
Or the Te Rapa breeders.
Hey, but what about Callsign Mav? He could just run them along, and if John's got him right, you know, like what that last one carrying, what was it, 60? Nearly me, or nearly the new me. But he was really good that day, and he's won a Group 1 at the trip. This season. So
is it exciting for you as an administrator? Because you've got a process to go through. Is it exciting when you think 3 sleeps, 4 sleeps, 5 sleeps, all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, look, I'm not sure about the sleep, but it is exciting because this is why I do it. I'm not a racing administrator that's in it to do property deals and that. I'm a CEO that is enjoying that aspect of the business in learning and doing deals of property. We've got tenants, all of those things. We're building a childcare centre, the Waikato Racing Club. But my love of the industry is around the racing aspect of it. So the build up to Saturday is something that I really look forward to. And look, we're doing a barrier draw at Fairview Motors on Wednesday at 11 o'clock for the 2 Group 1s. They did it last year at the track, but I've said, look, let's take it to Fairview Motors. As I said before, the Dyke family, huge supporters in honouring Herbie. So we're going to do that there. And those sort of things, I really love that. I love building up to Saturday. It's a free gate on Saturday. It's historically been a free gate, and I think that it's important in the heart of Waikato that we have the opportunity for people to come and see these stars because they are genuine stars on show on Saturday.
Mate, good luck on Saturday. Should be a super day. We're all looking forward to it so much.
Yeah, we are. We cannot wait for Group 1 day at Te Rapa on Saturday. That's it from us on WAN. Make sure you tune in next Monday, same time.